I want you to picture something. And I guarantee you've done this exact thing within the last week.
Oh, almost certainly.
Right. So you walk through those automatic sliding doors of your local grocery store. The fluorescent lights are buzzing overhead. Your cart has that, that one squeaky wheel that's just driving you absolutely crazy.
Yep, the classic squeaky wheel.
Exactly. And without even consciously making a decision, you lock into a very specific, highly predictable trajectory. I mean, you are on absolute autopilot.
Just totally zoned out.
Yeah, you make a beeline for the same trusty bag of gala apples. You grab that exact same plastic clamshell of mixed leafy greens. You toss in the same reliable, pre-washed bag of carrots. And this happens week after week, month after month, regardless of whether it's pouring rain, snowing, or, 100 degrees outside.
It's a completely reflexive state. We tend to navigate the produce aisle the same way we navigate brushing our teeth or taking a shower.
Like muscle memory.
Exactly. It's an automated sequence designed to minimize decision fatigue. I mean, your brain just wants the easiest route.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when we were pulling together the research for today's deep dive, and we're focusing heavily on seasonal wellness today, and specifically this intriguing little fruit called the persimmon, an analogy immediately popped into my head.
Oh, yeah. What kind of analogy?
Well, treating the grocery store the way most of us do is exactly like driving on a commuter highway. You know that feeling when you drive home from work, you pull into your driveway, put the car in park, and suddenly realize you don't actually remember a single detail of the last 20 minutes of the drive.
Oh, absolutely. Highway hypnosis, basically.
Right. You were just speeding along the most efficient, familiar route, completely ignoring all the scenic byways and side roads just to get to your destination. And we do that with our food. We speed right past these bizarre, beautiful, seasonal treasures just to get to the familiar stuff.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it. And, it's critical to establish right out of the gate that this commuter highway approach to food, this really rigid predictability, is a remarkably modern invention.
Because we didn't always have supermarkets.
Exactly. For the vast, overwhelming majority of human history, that kind of autopilot simply wasn't an option. The landscape of available food was constantly shifting beneath our ancestors' feet.
So they couldn't just rely on the same bag of carrots in February.
No, not at all. And what we're going to explore today is how breaking that modern habit, actually getting off the culinary highway, it offers far more than just some new flavors on your plate. It taps into these deep biological mechanisms that we are, quite frankly, actively starving.
Right. And to be clear, the mission of our deep dive today isn't just to talk about the persimmon as a piece of fruit. We've got this great source text today, Persimmons, the sweet superfruit of fall. But we are going to use it as a lens.
A jumping off point, really.
Yeah, a way to completely rethink our approach to how we fuel ourselves and to understand the biological and psychological benefits of eating exactly what nature is offering right now.
It's a huge mindset shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
But before we get into the psychology of the grocery store, I really want to understand what's happening inside us. Because in our notes, there's a huge emphasis on how our bodies actually crave these seasonal shifts.
They absolutely do.
So I want you, the listener, to think about your own body for a second. Think about how you physically feel as the weather turns colder, the days get shorter, the air gets thinner and drier. Your body isn't a static machine.
No, it's constantly adapting.
Right. I always think of it like a highly advanced smart engine. And just like a car engine requires a different oil viscosity or a totally different fuel blend to run efficiently in a freezing winter than it does in a sweltering summer, it seems like our bodies require a totally different nutritional fuel blend as the seasons shift.
What's fascinating here is how the science of circadian biology validates that exact intuition. We usually associate circadian rhythms with sleep, our 24-hour internal clock.
Like jet lag and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But our digestive organs, our gut microbiome, our immune system, they also operate on a seasonal clock.
Wait, really? A seasonal clock?
Yes, a seasonal clock. As the ambient temperature drops and daylight diminishes, our immune system faces an entirely different gauntlet of challenges. I mean, airborne viruses survive longer in cold, dry air.
Oh, so that's why flu season is in the winter.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Plus, we spend way more time indoors in poorly ventilated spaces, and our bodies physiologically anticipate this shift.
So the body is essentially gearing up for a different type of war in November than it is in July.
That's a great way to put it. And to fight that war, it requires different ammunition. Which brings us to why something like the persimmon is so biologically relevant in the autumn.
because it's fall ammunition.
Right. The source script highlights specialized plant fibers and unique antioxidant profiles. But to understand why that actually matters, we have to look at how they function inside us. Let's take the gut microbiome, for example.
Okay.
The trillions of bacteria in your gut regulate a massive portion of your immune response. But those bacteria need to eat, and they feed on specific types of plant fibers through a process called prebiotic fermentation.
Wait, let me make sure I'm following. So when I eat the fiber in, like a fall fruit, I'm not just eating it to keep my digestion moving, I'm actively feeding the bacteria.
You are directly feeding the bacteria, and when those bacteria digest the complex, highly specialized fibers found in late harvest seasonal produce, so like the specific pectins in a persimmon, or the really dense fibers in winter squash, they produce these byproducts called short-chain fatty acids.
Okay, fatty acids, got it.
And one of the most important ones is called butyrate. Butyrate literally crosses the gut barrier and acts as a signaling molecule to your immune system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it ramps up the production of regulatory T cells, which are the cells that control inflammation.
That is wild. So the fiber is basically sending a chemical text message to my immune system, telling it to mobilize for winter.
That's a perfect translation, a chemical text message. And it's not just the fiber either. Consider the antioxidants.
Right, we hear about those all the time.
But specifically during the colder months, our bodies endure higher levels of environmental stress, which causes cellular oxidation. It's essentially microscopic damage to our cells.
Like rusting on a car.
Exactly like rusting.
Yeah.
Now, the specific antioxidants that develop in a persimmon, particularly these compounds called tannins, which give the fruit its vibrant orange color and that kind of unique astringency, they are incredibly potent at neutralizing those free radicals.
So it stops the rusting.
Right. You are quite literally eating the exact defense mechanism the plant developed to survive the changing weather, and you're transferring that resilience directly into your own cells.
It's like nature is handing us a bespoke, custom-made medicine cabinet, precisely when the environment gets hostile.
It really is.
But if that biological mandate is so deeply hardwired into us, I mean, it begs a pretty massive question. If we are wired to receive these chemical text messages from seasonal foods, what happens when we just eat the exact same things year-round? Which I guess brings us to the ancestral blueprint.
Yeah, so if we look at human evolution, our ancestors didn't have a choice in the matter. Their diet was dictated entirely by local availability.
If it wasn't growing, they weren't eating it.
Exactly. And because of that strict reliance on the rhythm of the year, they naturally consumed a highly diverse, constantly rotating spectrum of nutrients.
Right.
Their gut microbiomes were exposed to a certain set of prebiotic fibers in the spring greens. Then they'd get a rush of hydrating phytonutrients from summer berries, and then these really dense immune-fortifying vitamins in the fall and winter harvests.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and I actually want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Because whenever we talk about, ancestral eating, my modern brain immediately gets a little defensive. Like, isn't it a massive triumph of human ingenuity, modern agriculture, and global supply chains that we can eat whatever we want, whenever we want?
It is a massive accomplishment, yes.
Like, I genuinely enjoy eating fresh blueberries in December. The fact that we can prevent starvation and provide consistent caloric energy year-round, that's a miracle. Are we really losing out just because we've mastered agricultural consistency?
It's a fantastic point, and you are absolutely right. The ability to globally distribute food and create caloric stability is undeniably one of the greatest logistical triumphs in human history. I mean, it saved millions from seasonal famine.
Right.
But we have to be honest about the biological trade-off. We gained unprecedented, miraculous convenience, but we paid for it by sacrificing the diverse spectrum of natural nutrients that our ancestors just absorbed effortlessly.
So, mechanically speaking,
Yeah.
what is actually different between the blueberry I eat in July and the one I buy at the supermarket in December? Or, let's use a tomato as an example, since that's something we see in the produce section every single day of the year. Yeah.
The tomato is the perfect example to illustrate this. When a crop is mass-produced to be available every single day of the year across the globe, it has to be genetically selected and cultivated for durability, uniform shape, and shelf life.
Not for flavor or nutrition.
Right, not for peak nutritional density. To get a tomato from a massive commercial farm in one hemisphere to your grocery store in another hemisphere during the dead of winter, it has to be picked when it is completely green and rock hard.
Because if they picked it ripe, it would just turn into a pile of mush in the back of the truck.
Exactly. But here's the mechanism you're missing out on. A fruit receives its most complex sugars, its deepest phytonutrients, and its most potent antioxidants during the final stages of ripening on the vine while it's still connected to the soil.
Oh, man. So by picking it early,
When you sever that connection weeks early, nutrient development stops dead. Period.
that makes total sense. But wait, if it's picked green, how is it red in the store?
Ah, well, to make that green tomato look appetizing, by the time it hits your grocery store, it is often placed in a sealed room and pumped with ethylene gas.
Ethylene gas.
Yep. The gas triggers a chemical reaction that forces the skin to turn red, mimicking ripeness, but the internal nutritional profile remains utterly stunted.
Wow. So it's basically a cosmetic paint job on a fruit that never actually got to finish growing.
Right. While you are still getting the baseline calories and, some foundational vitamins, you are completely missing out on those complex, concentrated chemical text messages we talked about earlier. By demanding convenience and predictability, we traded deep, biologically recognized nourishment for mass-produced monotony.
Mass-produced monotony. Wow, that hits hard. Because it's not just that the food itself has become monotonous, it's that we have become monotonous in how we interact with it in the kitchen.
Oh, absolutely.
Which transitions us perfectly into the psychology of all this. If the biological benefits are this profound, why do we stay on that commuter highway? Why do we actively avoid the seasonal stuff?
It ultimately boils down to a very modern phenomenon, culinary intimidation. We are just terrified of the unfamiliar.
Yes, I am completely guilty of this. Let's look at our star player today, the persimmon.
Let's do it.
If you didn't grow up with a persimmon tree in your backyard, or, you don't come from an Asian culture where they are this celebrated staple, you see this thing in the produce aisle and it stops you in your tracks.
It's definitely unusual looking.
Right. It looks like a bright orange, slightly waxy tomato with a weird little leafy hat on top. And you stare at it. You might even pick it up, feel how firm it is, and then you just put it right back.
Yep.
You walk away because you have absolutely no idea what to do with it. Do I peel it? Do I bake it? Do I eat the skin?
And that lack of a frame of reference registers in the brain as a risk. To our deeply ingrained psychology, an unknown food is a potential hazard.
Like it might be poisonous or something.
Historically, yes. But in a modern context, it's a risk of a different sort. It's a financial risk. You don't want to waste your money on something you might ruin. And it's a huge risk of your time and energy at the end of a long day.
So what does this all mean for our behavior? It reminds me of getting a notification for a major software update on your phone.
Oh, I ignore those for weeks.
Right. You know it's supposed to make your system run better, patch out the bugs, improve your battery life, but you hit remind me later for 3 weeks straight because you just don't want to deal with learning the new interface.
Exactly.
You stick with the familiar, even if it's suboptimal, because it's safe. We do a paint-by-numbers meal. We know exactly how long the carrots take to chop. We know exactly how the chicken will taste.
That software update analogy is spot on. But what this deep dive reveals is a crucial shift in perspective to bypass that intimidation. We assume that unfamiliar ingredients require complex culinary mastery to prepare.
Like, we need a sous chef.
Right, but in reality, treating whole seasonal foods with absolute simplicity is usually the most effective way to experience them.
Which totally shifts the pressure off of us. You don't need a 5-page recipe or a culinary degree to unlock these nutrients.
Not at all. Take the Fuyu persimmon, for example. That's the one that looks a bit like a squash tomato.
Okay, the tomato-looking one.
You literally just wash it, slice it like an apple, and eat it raw. That's it. It's crisp, it's sweet, it has these beautiful hints of honey and cinnamon.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It is. Or you can toss it in a blender. You can roast it with a little olive oil. When you realize that simplicity is the goal, preparing a meal undergoes this massive psychological shift. It stops being a burdensome chore that you have to frantically rush through.
It transforms into a creative ritual. I mean, a chore is something you endure so you can get to the next part of your day, right? But a ritual is something you are actively present for.
And cultivating that presence is the master key here. It's the mechanism that unlocks the final and perhaps most critical layer of this entire process. We've mapped out the biology, we understand the ancestral history, and we've dismantled the intimidation of preparing the food.
But there's more.
Yes. None of it matters if we don't fundamentally change the way we actually consume the food once it's on the plate.
Which brings us to mindfulness as the absolute foundation of wellness. And this is where I want to challenge you, the listener, directly. I want you to be really honest with yourself. Think back to your last meal, lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever it was.
Keep it in your mind.
When was the last time you actually noticed the physical texture of the food in your mouth? When was the last time you registered the aroma before taking a bite? Because if you were anything like me, far too often, you are just mechanically chewing while mindlessly scrolling through social media, answering emails on your phone, or, stressing out about a deadline.
It is the commuter highway all over again, just relocated to the dining table.
Oh, man. That's
Yeah.
so true.
And when we eat in that state of distraction and stress, we might be absorbing the raw caloric energy, but we are severely compromising our biological ability to process the nutrients.
Wait, really? Being distracted actually changes how we digest.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it fundamentally changes your physiology. Digestion is governed by the parasympathetic nervous system, which is often called the rest and digest state.
Rest and digest.
Okay. But when you are scrolling through stressful emails or rushing through a meal, your body is lingering in a low-grade sympathetic state. That's the fight or flight response.
Right.
In that state, your body literally pulls blood flow away from the digestive tract. It assumes you are under threat, like a predator is chasing you, so breaking down complex nutrients is just not its priority.
So I could be eating the most nutrient-dense, perfectly seasonal, antioxidant-rich persimmon in the world. But if I'm stressed out looking at a screen, my body isn't even fully unlocking those benefits.
Exactly. This is why true wellness is about actively recognizing that you are investing in your own biology. It is built entirely on tiny, accessible moments of mindfulness.
It's the micro-investment. And this is a radically different definition of wellness than what we're usually sold, isn't it?
Oh, completely.
The wellness industry loves to push this exhausting all-or-nothing narrative. Like, you have to overhaul your entire diet, eliminate 5 different food groups, and adhere to a strict regimen.
Which nobody can maintain.
Right. But what we're learning is that sustainable wellness is just a series of micro-investments. Choosing the weird seasonal fruit instead of the gas tomato, taking 30 seconds to notice the vibrant orange color, putting the phone in another room for the first 3 bites to actually taste the complexity of the honey and cinnamon notes in that persimmon.
By making those micro-investments, you are actively signaling to your nervous system that you are safe. By pausing to notice the texture and appreciate the aroma, you forcefully shift your body into that rest and digest state. You literally change the physiological environment in which the food is processed, allowing your gut microbiome and your immune system to fully extract and utilize those specialized seasonal nutrients.
So let's bring all of these threads together because we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started by holding a mirror up to our own habits, recognizing our tendency to cruise down the grocery store commuter highway on autopilot, just grabbing the same cosmetically perfect mass-produced foods out of pure habit.
Ye definitely did. And then we pulled back the curtain on the biology, exploring how our internal engines really rely on circadian biology. We learned how seasonal foods provide the exact prebiotic fibers and unique antioxidants needed to send chemical text messages to our immune systems.
Helping us mount a defense for the specific environmental challenges of the colder months. And we looked at the historical trade-off of modern agriculture. We acknowledged the miracle of a globally consistent food supply, while recognizing that by eating tomatoes ripened with ethylene gas instead of vine-ripened seasonal produce, we trade deep phytonutrient nourishment for mass-produced monotony.
Then we confronted the culinary intimidation that keeps us stuck in our safe, paint-by-numbers routines, and we discovered that the antidote to that fear is extreme simplicity, that treating an unfamiliar ingredient with basic techniques like slicing or blending transforms meal prep from a chore into a creative ritual.
And finally, we realized that wellness isn't an exhausting marathon. It's built in the tiny, mindful moments. It's putting the phone down, shifting your nervous system into rest and digest, and actively participating in your own nourishment. Which leaves us with a pretty exciting mission.
It really does.
My call to action for you, listening right now, is to challenge yourself this week. When you are writing your grocery list or pushing that squeaky cart down the aisles, do not just stick to the familiar route. Find something new.
Get off the highway.
Yes, get off the highway. Maybe it is the sweet fall persimmon. Maybe it's a strange, bumpy squash you've never looked twice at, or a root vegetable with the dirt still on it. Pick it up. Buy it. Bring it home. Look up the simplest possible preparation and take the time to truly, mindfully taste it without any screens in front of you. Remember that in that exact moment, you aren't just eating, you are making a direct biological investment in your health.
And as you take that first mindful bite, this raises an important question I really want to leave you with today, a thought to chew on, if you will.
I love a good pun.
If human biology, Our cellular defense, our gut microbiomes, our energy regulation evolved for hundreds of thousands of years to thrive on the constantly shifting, rotating chemical signals of seasonal produce. Could our modern habit of eating the exact same genetically stabilized out-of-season foods year-round actually be confusing our internal biological clocks? By demanding summer berries in the dead of winter, are we unintentionally disrupting our own seasonal rhythms just because we prioritize convenience over connection?
Wow. That is a thought that is going to linger with me the next time I instinctively reach for that same bag of baby carrots in December. Am I confusing my own biological clock? Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We love unpacking these hidden, intricate layers of the everyday things around us, and I really hope this conversation has given you a totally fresh perspective on how you fuel your body. Until next time, I want to encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning your autopilot habits, and whatever you do, the next time you walk into that grocery store, take the scenic route in the produce aisle. Keep exploring, keep nourishing yourselves, and stay bright.